Hi, this is Michael Bernaski, and this is the final video in the African Mission Healthcare Financial Management series. These are again meant to be train the trainer courses, so I didn't necessarily create these for a lot of end user consumption, but more to help other people use the materials to do some basic training and education to African Mission Healthcare clients. But if you found them useful, I'm happy. Okay, so what have we covered in this course, and what are we going to talk about in the wrap-up? Well, first of all, hopefully I've made the case for why financial management is important and defined it a bit. We talked about three financial statements that are very key to understanding the health and the trajectory of an organization, and the organizations that African Mission Healthcare has the privilege to serve can benefit from these in terms of understanding what path they're on and how to develop the tools to change that path. We talked a bit about the key roles, the key financial roles, sometimes filled by one person, sometimes filled by multiple people in whole departments. And then we spent some time talking about revenue accounting and cost accounting, or more appropriately, the tools we use to forecast revenue and forecast our costs in advance. That's what makes us managers, is to have a thought process of what's going to happen into the future, and then also to track actuals against those forecasts to see how reality compares with our predictions of the future. And again, as I've mentioned several times, we know our predictions are going to be wrong. It's in the analysis of why they were wrong that we gain managerial insights and why they're so important. And that's the point that I'll emphasize here as we wrap up with 3 slides. So you'll remember earlier in the presentation, we laid out a budget for how much of each service, each type of vaccine, we expected to be delivering to our patients. We estimated a low, a high, and a mean for how many of each of those we would be providing. We estimated how much we would recover for each one of those. A certain percentage would be free, a certain percentage we'd get 50% recovery on, and a certain percentage we would hope to get 80% recovery on. And we built up to an estimate of expecting, let's say, 9,000 shillings of revenue for the delivery of inoculation services to children. Okay, so at the end of the year, or throughout the year, we can actually count and see what we actually did. And the right-hand side of the slide is meant to be a bit of a depiction of reality after the fact. So the numbers of vaccines delivered were different, of course, than the forecast. So the 702s, we thought we would do 200, we ended up doing 325. The 700s, we thought we'd do 160, we ended up doing 231. But the 723s, we thought we would do 40, and we ended up just doing 5. So reality set in, and we ended up doing 789 inoculations when we had only budgeted to do 620 of them. So the revenue that we took in, we had a breakdown of how many were free, and a breakdown of how many paid 50% and how many paid 80%. And what we found is that our total revenue was in fact larger, right? 10,690 shillings rather than 9,000. So that might feel like success, and in one dimension it is. We're able to serve a lot more patients, and we generated some additional revenue. However, when we look at the cost of these services that we were able to provide, originally, when we thought we were doing the original volume of services of, let's see, what was it, 620 inoculations, we thought we would get revenue of 8,864. But in reality, we thought our costs would be 8,864 shillings. But in actuality, our costs came out to 10,770. And so because we had 10,690 in total revenue and 10,770 in costs, we actually had a small loss, an 80 shilling loss. So initially we planned for a small profit of 136 shillings, and it turned into an 80 shilling loss. Well, what happened? Let's study why we had this variance. We know we did a lot more inoculations, but other things had changed as well. So one of the things that we find out from doing this analysis is that the vaccine 702, we were losing money every time we did it. So we were able to take in 11.25 shillings per administration of this vaccine, but the cost ended up being 12.49 per. And so we had a loss of 1.24 shillings every single time we did it. And because we ended up doing a lot more of those than we anticipated we would be doing, instead of doing 200, we did 325. That amplified our losses, and that's the big driver, if you analyze the numbers here, that led to our switch to a loss instead of profitability. Albeit the size of the profit was small and the size of the loss was small, but nonetheless, studying why it changed and learning from the differences were pretty key. We got less revenue per than we thought we would get. Our costs were higher per, and our profit was in fact lower. Now, the reality of it is that we were always losing money on the 702s in the model. And if you go back and check the numbers, you can confirm that. And so the fact that we did a bunch of them is why in aggregate we turned to a loss. But that may have been a business decision that we decided to make, but part of our mission was to provide this very basic level of vaccine and knowingly do it at a loss. But I'd rather know ahead of time it was going to be a loss than be surprised at the end of the year that it was going to be a loss. So hopefully you see that as managers, what we want to be able to do is have a somewhat granular and detailed view of what our revenue is hoping to be over the next year, what we think our costs will be over the next year, to track our actuals against those projections, and then learn and make good proactive management decisions that will help our institutions improve their core financial results. So again, this has been a course for non-financial people, but hopefully we're all going to be good consumers of financial information and use these types of revenue and cost forecasts, use the segregation of duties and strong roles in the finance department, and use our financial statements as tools to help us better fulfill our mission. Thank you very much, and thanks for paying attention.